Again, coming off the screens. Clark steps back, fires, you bet!
Caitlin Clark didn't just join the WNBA, she changed its entire scale. Ratings surged, arenas filled, and a league that spent decades chasing attention suddenly became must-watch television almost overnight. But here's the question no one can avoid anymore. When one player drives that much success, does she elevate the league or expose everything it was never built to handle? Because behind the numbers, something bigger is unfolding, and the WNBA may be standing at a turning point it cannot reverse. The economics of Caitlin Clark. The economic impact of Caitlin Clark on the WNBA is not debatable. It is arithmetic. During her rookie season, 21 broadcasts featuring Clark drew over 1 million viewers each.
Passing it over to 6'5" Boston.
Clark gets a clean look and knocks it down.
Numbers the league had not reached consistently in its entire history. The Indiana Fever went from having the second worst attendance in the league to setting the all-time WNBA record, averaging above 17,000 fans per home game. Her jersey outsold every other player in the league. Her playoff games drew the highest ratings since the 2000 finals. Opponents relocated games to larger arenas when the Fever were visiting because their normal venues could not hold the demand. And here is where the tension starts. Because all of that economic activity, all of those ticket sales and television ratings and merchandise purchases benefited the entire league. Not just the Fever. Every team in the WNBA saw increased fan engagement during Clark's rookie season. Road attendance rose across the board. National media coverage of the league multiplied. The WNBA's negotiating position for its next media rights deal, potentially the most lucrative contract in league history, was built substantially on the ratings that Clark's games generated. That means every player in the league, every player who will negotiate a contract in the next 5 years, every player who will benefit from improved salaries, better travel conditions, and upgraded facilities, owes a portion of that improvement to the revenue that Caitlin Clark's presence has generated. Not all of it. The league was growing before Clark arrived.
Clark backing down Quinterly. 6 to shoot, fading away, and dropping it in.
A'ja Wilson is an extraordinary player who has driven interest in her own right. Sabrina Ionescu's three-point contest against Steph Curry was a landmark moment for women's basketball visibility. The foundation was being laid by many players over many years, but the acceleration, the exponential spike that turned gradual growth into a commercial explosion traces directly to one player. And that reality creates an emotional dynamic that is extremely difficult for the other players in the league to process. Because here is what economics looks like from the perspective of a veteran WNBA player who has been in the league for 6 or 7 years. You have spent your career playing in half-empty arenas for salaries that would not cover a month's rent in most major American cities. You have taken commercial flights in coach seating while NBA players fly private. You have earned a maximum salary that is less than what some NBA players earn per game. You have fought for every dollar of recognition, every minute of television coverage, every scrap of public attention. You have done this while being told, year after year, that the league is growing, that things are getting better, that your sacrifice is building something. And then a rookie arrives and receives, in her first season, more attention, more endorsement money, and more commercial value than you have accumulated in your entire career combined. A'ja Wilson is the perfect case study for this frustration. She is arguably the best basketball player in the WNBA, a 2-time MVP, a champion, a player whose dominance on the court is so complete.
4 times, I've only been the commissioner for 5 years, 4 times, MVP.
That the argument for her as the greatest player in the history of the league is not unreasonable. She has spent years being the best in the world at what she does, and yet she has not been offered the same international contracts that Clark has reportedly received. She has not generated the same endorsement portfolio. She has not driven the same attendance spikes or the same viewership numbers. Wilson's supporters argue, correctly, that this disparity reflects structural inequities that go far beyond basketball talent. Clark's supporters argue, also correctly, that commercial value is determined by market demand, not by on-court accomplishment alone. Both arguments are true. Neither resolves the tension. And the tension is what generates the resentment that has been leaking into public view all season. The rookie did not create the disparity. The rookie is a beneficiary of timing, talent, personality, social media reach, and a cultural moment that was decades in the making. But from the inside, from the perspective of the player who has sacrificed for years and feels overlooked, the rookie does not feel like a colleague. She feels like a verdict that says your years of sacrifice were not enough, that the thing you gave your career to build was only waiting for someone else to come along and make it matter. That feeling, however irrational it might be when examined logically, is real. It is powerful, and it is driving behavior that is damaging the league. The clip that turned into a crisis. The tension that had been simmering beneath the surface went fully public after the eye poke incident involving Dejanai Carrington. The play itself.
So Carrington knocked it away, and then Clark caught her with the left hand.
A contact to Clark's face during a game against the Connecticut Sun that left Clark with a visible black eye was controversial enough on its own. Clark handled it with her characteristic composure, telling reporters after the game that it was accidental and that she did not believe Carrington had done it intentionally. She tried to close the door on the story. The internet kicked it open. What escalated the situation beyond the play itself was what happened afterward on social media. A video circulated showing Carrington mimicking the moment, appearing to mock Clark's reaction to the eye poke. Nalissa Smith, Clark's own teammate on the Indiana Fever, was seen in the video laughing along. The clip spread rapidly across every platform, and the reaction from Clark's fan base was immediate, massive, and furious. The optics were devastating. Clark's supporters saw a teammate laughing at her injury with the player who had caused it. They saw a failure of loyalty so public that it felt deliberate. The Fever organization did not publicly address the incident in any meaningful way. They did not release a statement supporting Clark. They did not discipline Smith. And in the weeks that followed, the team's social media accounts posted Smith's season highlights, which fans interpreted as the organization choosing to celebrate the player who had been seen mocking their biggest star, rather than standing behind the player whose presence was the reason anyone was paying attention to the franchise at all. The fan reaction was enormous and immediate.
From across the country who came out here tonight to watch the Fever play, and from the energy inside Gainbridge.
Comment sections across every platform were flooded with demands for the Fever to trade Smith. Clark's supporters called it a betrayal of the franchise's most valuable player. Some fans argued that the video proved that Clark was isolated within her own locker room, that the teammates who should have been supporting her were instead aligning with the opponents who had been physical with her all season. Others pointed out that Smith's personal relationship with Carrington was well known, and that the video was being interpreted through a lens of loyalty that does not actually exist in professional sports, where players maintain friendships across team lines constantly, and where a moment of shared laughter does not constitute a declaration of allegiance. Now, context matters here, and it matters a lot. The video was a short clip taken from a longer interaction whose full context was never made available. People laugh in social situations for many reasons, including discomfort, nervousness, and the simple human instinct to diffuse tension with humor. A few seconds of footage do not constitute proof of malice or disloyalty. Smith's personal relationships are her own business and have no bearing on her professional obligations to the team. And the standard that a teammate is required to publicly condemn every opponent who fouls a fellow player is a standard that does not exist in any professional sport. But none of that nuance mattered once the clip was circulating. The narrative was set within hours. The damage to the perception of team unity was done in a way that no internal conversation or organizational press release could undo. And for Clark, who has consistently refused to engage with the drama publicly, the situation created an additional emotional burden that went far beyond the physical demands of playing basketball at the highest level. The overseas threat the WNBA can't ignore. Against this backdrop, reports emerged that European teams had extended lucrative offers to Clark, contracts that would reportedly exceed anything available in the WNBA by a significant margin. Clark herself publicly stated that she would not be playing overseas during the offseason, choosing instead to rest and travel. She has shown no public indication of leaving the WNBA. But the mere existence of those offers and the conversation they generated exposed a vulnerability that the league cannot afford to ignore. The WNBA's salary structure is one of the most constrained in professional sports. The maximum salary for the league's highest-paid players is approximately $250,000, a figure that represents a fraction of what comparable athletes earn in the NBA, where the minimum salary for a rookie exceeds $1 million. A'ja Wilson, the reigning MVP and one of the best players in the world,
2020 WNBA MVP award to A'ja Wilson.
earns a WNBA salary that would not crack the top 400 in the NBA. The disparity is not a secret. It is the defining frustration of every player who has ever competed at the highest level of women's basketball. And it is the reason that the majority of top WNBA players spend their off seasons playing overseas, in leagues in Turkey, Russia, China, Australia, and across Europe, earning salaries that can exceed their WNBA income by a factor of 3 or 4. Brittany Griner's imprisonment in Russia, which became a global news story in 2022, happened because she was playing in Russia during the WNBA offseason to supplement her domestic income. That is not an anomaly. That is the standard career structure for elite women's basketball players in America. Clark's endorsement income, estimated at $8.1 million during her rookie year, according to Forbes, dwarfs her WNBA salary by a factor that makes the league's pay scale almost irrelevant to her personal finances. She is not dependent on the WNBA for her livelihood in the way that most players are. She could, theoretically, play overseas for more money, face less physical punishment, and continue building her brand internationally without the drama and hostility that have surrounded her domestic career. She has shown no public interest in doing so. She has stated that she will not play overseas during the off-season and that she is committed to the Fever. But the fact that the option exists and that the financial incentive is overwhelming is a leverage point that the league has to take seriously.
It's Allen back here for Clark. She will launch, draws the foul, and will shoot 3 free throws.
Not because Clark is threatening to leave, but because the conversation itself reveals how little the WNBA's compensation structure reflects the value its biggest star generates. The deeper issue is what the overseas conversation reveals about the WNBA's value proposition. If the league's biggest star can earn more money, receive better treatment, and compete in a more supportive environment by leaving the country, then the league's pitch to its best players, "Stay here because this is the premier women's basketball league in the world," becomes harder to sustain. The WNBA has to become the place where players want to be, not just the place where they play because there is no better domestic option. And right now, for a player in Clark's position, the argument for staying is based on loyalty and legacy rather than economics and experience. That is a fragile foundation for retaining your most important asset. The credit war. Who built the WNBA? Underneath every argument about physicality, officiating, and team loyalty, there is a deeper debate that drives more of the tension than most people want to admit. And that debate is about credit. Who deserves credit for the growth of women's basketball? Is it the pioneers, the players like Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, and A'ja Wilson, who spent decades playing in half-empty arenas, fighting for respect, earning a fraction of what they deserved, and building the infrastructure that made the current moment possible? Or is it Caitlin Clark, who arrived at the perfect intersection of talent, personality, social media reach, and cultural timing, and whose presence accelerated the growth curve in ways that the pioneers' efforts alone had not? The honest answer is both. The foundation was built over decades by players who never received the attention or the compensation they deserved. Swoops had her own Nike signature shoe in the 1990s, but barely anyone outside of hardcore women's basketball fans knew about it. The league survived for 27 years on the determination of players who loved the game enough to accept salaries that would not cover rent in most major American cities. That foundation is real. It matters. And it should never be dismissed or forgotten. But foundations are not visible. They exist underground, and the people who build them are rarely the people who receive credit when the building rises above the surface. Clark did not create the WNBA. She did not invent the market for women's basketball. But she is the person who, through a combination of talent, charisma, and perfect timing,
Two players shadowing Caitlin Clark.
Warnock again.
made the market explode in a way that the 27 years of foundation building had not. Both contributions are essential. Neither is sufficient without the other. And the inability of the conversation to hold both truths simultaneously is what generates the resentment, the accusations of erasure from one side, and ingratitude from the other, that has poisoned the discourse around the league. Several prominent voices have tried to articulate this balance. Nancy Lieberman said that no woman, no matter how great, should negate what Caitlin Clark is doing for the game. Others have argued that celebrating Clark without acknowledging the women who made her success possible is its own form of disrespect. Both positions are valid. And the league's failure to create a public narrative that honors both, that celebrates the pioneers and the catalysts without positioning them as opponents, has allowed the most toxic elements of the fan base and the media to frame the conversation as a zero-sum competition. It is not, but it has been treated as one. And the damage that framing has caused to the league's culture, its public image, and its internal relationships is real and ongoing. What happens next? Clark has stated publicly that she is not leaving the WNBA. She is committed to the Indiana Fever. She is preparing for the upcoming season with the same work ethic and the same competitive drive that defined her college career and her first 2 professional years. She is not running from the drama. She is not engaging with it either. She is doing what she has always done, playing basketball, letting the work speak.
Clark steps behind the screen and hits. Well, that's we saw it in warm-up.
And trusting that the game itself will eventually answer every question that the noise is asking. But the league has responsibilities that Clark cannot fulfill on her own. The WNBA has to address the salary structure that makes overseas offers attractive to its best players. The new media rights deal that is currently being negotiated, driven in significant part by the viewership numbers that Clark's games generated, represents the single greatest opportunity the league has ever had to increase player salaries to a level that makes overseas play unnecessary rather than economically essential. If the league secures a deal that reflects the actual viewership data, and if the resulting revenue is shared with the players in a way that meaningfully closes the gap between what they earn and what they generate, the entire calculus changes. Players who are currently supplementing their income in Turkey and China could afford to stay home. The league's pitch to its best athletes would shift from play here because you love the game to play here because we value you at market rate. That is a transformative change. And Clark's impact on the numbers is the primary reason it is possible. The league also has to address the officiating inconsistencies that fueled the physicality debate throughout Clark's first 2 seasons. It has to create a culture where the success of one player is celebrated as a win for the entire league, rather than resented as a slight against everyone else. And it has to do all of this while managing a media environment that rewards conflict over nuance and a fan base that is emotionally invested in narratives that the league cannot fully control. None of these challenges are simple. All of them are urgent. The WNBA has reached a point where every decision carries long-term consequences. How it handles its stars, how it manages its tensions, and how it defines the era Caitlin Clark has helped create. Because this is no longer just a question of popularity or performance. It's a question of direction, of identity, of what kind of league is being built in real time under the brightest spotlight it has ever seen. And as the noise grows louder between celebration, resistance, and expectation, one question still hangs over everything that comes next. When the league finally chooses its path, will it be remembered as the moment it embraced its future, or the moment it struggled to recognize it?